Hello, morning friends. So, welcome back to this class again, and we begin about another question that we ask: how do the population grow, and how do they change? That is what we are going to see in today's class. How do the population grow, and how do they change? You can take page number 54. Population is a dynamic phenomenon. Dynamic means very active, not remaining same. Either it will go this side or it will go this side. Either it will increase or it will decrease. And the numbers, the distribution and composition of population are constantly changing. So that's why we call it dynamic, because the number is changing. Either it is decreasing or increasing, or the distribution is changing. So some places it may be more, some places it may be less. Sometimes it may change again. Where it was less, it may increase. Where it was more, it may decrease. So the distribution also may change. Then the composition. Some places it may be old people were staying. Now there may be more young people may be there. Or some places maybe more male were staying. Now maybe more females are staying. So all these are changing the composition. That's why we call it population is a dynamic phenomenon. It is never remaining the same, always changing, either to become less or to become more. Then this is the influence of the interaction of three processes, namely birth, death and migration. So why do these changes take place? The population increase or decrease, the population change and the population composition, all that. There are three facts which are responsible for that. What are they? Birth, death and migration. These are the three factors responsible. We can underline which are the three factors responsible for this population change and population growth. Which are they? Death, birth and migration. Migration means what? Moving from one place to another. Some people change their residence from one district to another district, or from one state to another state, or from one country to another country. That is called migration. Now let's see first the population growth. Let us see first about the growth. So population growth of population refers to the change in the number of inhabitants of a country or territory during a specific period of time, say during the last 10 years. So you can underline what do you understand by population growth. So population growth refers to the change in the number of inhabitants. It is a change in number of inhabitants of a country or territory within a specific period of time. That is called population growth. And such a change can be expressed in two ways, in terms of absolute numbers and in terms of percentage change per year. So we can express this, maybe we can say the number of people living in this area are 5 lakhs, we can say. Or we can say the percentage of the people are living here, 5% of the people are living in this country or in this state or in this district or in this area. So we can say in the percentage wise also, we can say also in the exact number of the people also. Then the absolute numbers added each year or decide is the magnitude of increase. So we can increase or we can add each number that is born in this place. For example, last year the population of this Ziro, we can say Ziro area, just say 5,000. Then following year, how many more children are born? Let's say 25 children are born. Then they will see how many people died. So last year it was 5,000 and 25 children are born. Maybe 10 people died. So we have to minus those who died, then plus those who are born. So 25 people are born and 10 people died. So we have to minus 5,000 minus 10 plus 25. So it will become 5,015. So that will be the population. Then next year it will be added again. We will minus those who died and add those who are born. So that way for the every year we can go on adding and minusing the number of people. That way we can know the exact number of people living in a territory. And it is obtained by simply subtracting the earlier population, that of 1991, and from the latter population, that is in 2001, it is referred to as the absolute increase. So we say we are taking census after 10 years in India. For example, the census that we are studying is based on 2001, in the year 2001. So the previous census was in 1991. So after 10 years. So here we see what was the total number of people in the country, and here we see what is the total number of people living in the country. Then which one will be higher, this one or this one? Naturally this will be higher, because year by year the population is increasing. It is not decreasing, it is increasing. Therefore this will be higher. So we subtract the population from this year's population from this year. Then we will see during the last 10 years what is the increase of the number of people. For example, let us say here the population was 10 million. 10 million. And here we see the population is 10.1 million. So 10.1 minus 10. So 0.1 will be the increase. 0.1 million will be the increase of population during the last 10 years. So that way, by subtracting the previous year's number from the current year, we can get the exact number of people who are increased in the population of the country. And the rate or the pace of population increase is the other important aspect. So we have to see the pace or the rate. That means how fast is the population increasing? What is the rate of the increase of the population? How fast are they increasing? That is also an important aspect. It is studied in person per annum. Example, a rate of increase of 2% per annum means that in a given year there was an increase of 2 persons for every 100 persons in the base population. So when we say there is an increase of 2% of population in our country, means for every 100 people there is an increase of 2 people. So 100 people will become 2 more than 102. So every 100 year there will be 2 plus. So if there are 1000 people, then how many will be there? There will be another 20 people more will be there. For every 100 there are 2 each. So 100 people, 102. Then 200 people is 204. Then 300 means there will be 306, and so on. So like that it will be increasing. So every 100 person living in this country, there is an increase of 2 more persons into that group. That's the meaning of population increased by 2%. Then this is referred to as annual growth rate. So the growth that is taking place, or the number of people is added every year, that is a annual growth rate. So at the end of the year we can calculate that what is the growth of people, what is the percentage of growth this year. Is it 2% or is it 1% or 3%? That will be known as annual growth rate. Then India's population has been steadily increasing from 361 million in 1951 to 1028 million in 2001. So in 1951, that means just soon after the independence, in 1951, What was the population of India? It was just 361 million. 361 million. Then after a few years, that is in 2001, that is after 50 years, it became 1028 million. So the population was increased from 361 to 1028 million. See the improvement or increase of the population. Within 50 years, it became more than 3 times higher. So the population expansion, the population growth was very fast in India during the last 50 years. And soon after the independence, Indian population began to increase very fast. And you can see the chart given there. What does it show? It is showing the total population of India. Then what is the absolute increase in the decade? So during the last 10 years, how much was the increase and how much is the percentage? See, in 1951, the total population was 361. Then the percentage was, the absolute increase was, how many people were increased? So 42.43 million people were increased during the 10 years. Then the increase was 1.25%. That means every 100 people, 1.25 people were added. Then after 10 years, it was increased to 439.2. Then the increase was again 78.15 million. So previous 10 years, the increase was 42.43. Then after 10 years, it became 78. So we see population is not remaining steady, it is increasing. And the annual growth rate also is increasing. As the population is increasing, the annual growth rate also will be increasing. Annual growth rate became 1.96. Then in 1971, the population total became 548.2. Then the increase was 108.92. So 108.92 million people were increased to our Indian population. Then the percentage also increased 2.20 it became. Then after 10 years, that is in 81, the population became 683.3 millions, and the increase was 135. Within that 10 years, 135.17 million people were added to the Indian population. Then the growth rate also was still higher. It became 2.22. Then in 1991, the population still became higher. It became 846.4 million people. Then the percentage or the increase was 163.09 millions. Then the percentage was little low. It was 2.14. So in 2001, that is the last census that is available for us, there the population reached 1028.7 million. 1028.7 million. That is the exact number of people living in our country in 2001. Now it may be much more higher. Then the increase was 182.32 million people, and the percentage was coming down this time. It became 1.93%. We can also see in the chart, after every 10 years to become higher and higher, to become higher and higher. That way it is showing the increase of population, and the red line shows the percentage. So the percentage is coming down towards, but the number of people are increasing. Then take table number 6.1 and figure 6.4 reveal that. So table 6.1 and figure 6.4, it indicates the annual rate of population growth was steadily increasing, and which explains the rapid increase of population from 361 million to in 1951 to 683 million in 1981. So the population was steadily increasing, and that reveals why the number of people was increasing so fast. It was increasing so fast. That is what it is revealing. Then since 1981, however, the rate of growth started declining gradually. So after 1981, we see the average, the percentage is coming down slowly. The number of people are reduced. Then during this period, birth rates declined rapidly. So the new birth, the children were not born not many children were born. That's why the percentage is coming down. Still 182 million people were added to the total population in 1990 alone, an annual addition larger than ever before. So because the population is already very big, and so the average is coming down. For people it is only just 1.93 or 2.14 and so on. The percentage is coming down, but already the population is high. That's why more children are born to this, and the total population is increasing. Then it is essential to realize that India has a very large population, so that everybody knows that India's population is very high, just next to China. And when a low annual rate is applied to a very large population, it yields a large absolute increase. So when a low annual rate is applied to a very large population, it yields a large absolute increase. So when the population is high, the increase also will be high. When more than 1 billion people increase, even at a lower rate, the total numbers being added becomes very large. India's current annual increase in population of 115.5 million is large enough to neutralize efforts to conserve the resource, endowment and environment. So since India's population is growing very fast, even the resources that we try to get, the natural resources as well as other environments and facilities that we are trying to make available, it gets neutralized. When we try to make spare some resource, more people are born in this country, therefore that is already consumed. Therefore, unless the population is reduced, the management of these resources become very difficult for us. We will not be successful. So the population control is very much essential. Then only the resources that are available will be able to utilize properly, make use and make it available to everyone. So that is endowment. Endowment means natural abilities, the resources that are available in the nature, the natural resources we have to make use or we make it available to all the people. But when the population is higher and higher, that resources are not sufficient, not available to everyone. Then the declining trend of the growth rate is indeed a positive indicator of the efforts of birth control. So why the percentage was coming down? Though the population is higher and higher, the people were controlling the birth. They were not having many children, so they reduced the having number of children. So they reduced the children, therefore the percentage was coming down and down. And despite that, the total additions to the population base continued to grow, and India may overtake China in 2045 to become the most populous country in the world. Though the population rate is reduced, but still the number of people living in our country are still very high. And if the population is continuing to grow at this rate, then after 25 years or so, that is in 2045, India will overtake China. India will become the first country in terms of population. India will have higher population than that of China. So that is the possibility is there. Therefore, the people of India have to be aware about it, and they should be aware about the problems and difficulties that we will face as the population is growing higher and higher. So we need to be careful, we need to be aware about the difficulties that we will face if the population is growing higher and the natural resources are becoming fewer and fewer. Now let's see the process of population change. How the population is changing. We say sometimes it is higher, sometimes it is low, and so on. How is it changing? And we said there are three factors. One is birth, second one is death, and third one is the migration. We shall see about all those things. How the population is changing. What are the factors responsible for changing in the population? So there are three main processes of change of population: birth rates, death rates, and migration. So we shall see one by one. The natural increase of population is the difference between birth rates and death rates. So the natural increase of population is the difference between birth rate and death rate. So when some people are born, some people are dying. So that difference, that is a natural increase in the population. So if 5 people are dead and 10 people are born, then how much is increase? 5 people are dead, 10 people are born. Then increase is how much? 5 or 10? Only increase by 5, because 5 people already died. So 5 people died, and that is minus from the 10 people born. So only 10 new ones are added. Then the birth rate. Birth rate is the number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year. So we call it birth rate. For 1,000 people, how many children are born to them? That is the birth rate for 1,000. In a year. So in a year, for 1,000 people, how many children are born? That is birth rate. Then it is a major component of growth, because in India, birth rates have always been higher than death rates. So you can underline what is birth rate. Birth rate is the number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year. And in a year, in India, the birth rate is very important component with regard to increasing of population, because the birth rates are much higher in India than death rate. So more people are born than dying in India. Then the death rate. Death rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 persons in a year. So just like the birth rate, that is live birth for 1,000 in a year, the same way death rate is number of people dying per 1,000. So among 1,000 people, how many people died in a year? That is death rate. You can underline that also. The main cause of the rate of growth of the Indian population has been rapid decline in death rates. So in India, the death rate is low. People are living longer time. Maybe because of good food, good atmosphere, good medical facility. Because of all this, the people in India are able to live for longer time. Therefore, the death rates are low, birth rates are higher. And till 1980, high birth rates and declining death rates led to a large difference between birth rates and death rates, resulting in higher rates of population growth. So in till 1980, what happened? High birth rates and declining death rates led to large difference between birth rates and death rates, resulting in a higher rates of population growth. So till 1981, people were not dying that much. That means the death rate was very low. Because of that, the population in India has increased very fast. Since 1981, birth rates have also started declining gradually, resulting in a gradual decline of the rate of population growth. What are the reasons for this trend? So till 1981, the birth rate was high and the death rate was low. So after 1981, what happened? Government tried to make the people aware about the problems of high birth rate, high population, and so people control the birth rate. So the death rate is low and the birth rate also is low. That is after 1980. That's why the percentage is coming down. Then the third component of the population growth is migration. Migration, I said, moving from one place to another and settle in different places. So migration is a movement of people across regions and territories. You can underline what is migration. Migration is the movement of the people across regions and territories. And migration can be internal, that is within the country, or international, that is between the countries. So there can be two types of migration. That can be internal. If I move from one state, if I move from Arunachal and stay in Assam, that is internal migration. So by moving from one state to another state, the population does not change, isn't it? You will be still the citizen of India. But if I move from Arunachal and settle down in America, then the population in India is reduced by 1%. Then in America it is increased by 1%. So internal migration and external migration, international migration, that is moving from one country to another. So which one will affect the population? It will change the population by international migration. If I move from one country to another country, the population of both countries are affected. But if I move from one state to another state within the country, then the population is not affected, it remains the same. So internal migration does not change the size of the population, but influences the distribution of population within the nation. So it does not change the population, but it affects the distribution of the population. So this place from where I am going, if I am going from Arunachal, then the density of population in Arunachal becomes less because one person is less. And if I go and settle down in Assam, then the population density of the population becomes higher by 1%. So only the density changes by internal migration, not the population. Then migration plays a very significant role in changing the composition and distribution of population. So this migration, it is affecting the changing of the composition and distribution of population. So the density of population or the distribution of the population is affected by internal migration. Then in India, most migrations have been from rural to urban areas. These are adverse conditions of poverty and unemployment in the rural areas and the pull of the city in terms of increased employment opportunities and better living conditions. So in India, the internal migrations are more from rural area people move to the urban areas. Why do the people migrate from rural area to urban area? What is the reason? If you go to a village, the population will be very less. And if you come to a town, you see population is very high. Because in the town, there are better living conditions. Network is there, water supply is there, electricity connection is there. Then other facilities like the network connections or the transportation facility, a shopping facility, lot of facilities will be there in the town. Therefore people like to come and stay in the town to make these facilities available to them. And also job opportunities. People come to the town means they'll have different jobs available. Some people will be running shops, some people will be working in the offices, some people will be doing some other mechanic work, construction works and so on. And if they stay in the village, all these facilities will not be available. That's why people prefer to travel from rural area to urban area to make better facilities available. Then migration is an important determinant of population change. It changes not only the population size but also the population composition of urban and rural populations in terms of age and sex composition. So this migration is a determinant in population change. So it will change the population, not the number of population, but it will change in the size, not in the size but in the composition. For example, in the rural area if you go, you will find mostly the women are staying there, men are very less. Men may be staying in the town, the urban area, doing the work and so on. The women may be, most of the women and children will be left in the rural area. So the population composition, there is women are more, children are more, men are less. And if you come to the town, urban area, it may be just the opposite. Men are more, women and children are less. Or boys are more in the towns, or girls are less maybe. So that population composition is changing because of migration. Then in India, the rural-urban migration has resulted in a steady increase in the percentage of population in cities and towns. So because of this internal migration, what happens? The population increase has taken place in the towns and cities. Then the urban population has increased from 17.29% of the total population in 1951. So soon after getting independence, that is in 1951, the population of urban area was increased from 17.29. Before 1951 it was just 17.29% of people were living in the town, and afterwards it became in 2000, after 50 years, in 2001 it became 27. So 10 more percentage of the people from rural area, they came to town area, urban area to settle down. So the population, the migration from rural area to migrate in the urban area. So there has been a significant increase in the number of million plus cities from 23 to 35 in just one decade, that is 91 to 2001. So in 1991 there were 23 towns which is having more than 1 million population, more than million plus, more than 1 million population. How many cities were there? 23. But in 2001 it became 35. There were 35 cities having the population of 1 million plus. So that shows a lot of internal migrations are taking place. People do not want to stay anymore in the urban area, in the rural areas. They all want to stay in the urban areas. Therefore moving from rural area to urban area. That way the population in the urban areas are increasing and the population in the rural area is decreasing. So that is the situation taking place in our country. So we shall stop for today and we will continue again in the next class about other aspects of our population and so on. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.